Where is my stitch groover? See, there it is. All right, so this comes out. Now, if you were making a single stitch, you would set this up basically right there, right in the middle. And you run that so you have, a whole bunch of room to not cut through your stitches, but we're making a double stitch here. So what I need to do is to set that 1/8 from the edge. You know what else is good to buy? Not buy, just have around. Is one of these little scales, because you're not doing such little measurements. Eighth of an inch, eighth of an inch, and a little over eighth to the outside. So now we need to set our stitch groover right on that red line. What a stitch groover does, let me show you that real quick. Scrap piece of leather. What a stitch groover does is pulls a groove. See how it comes right out of that leather? Pulls a groove out, and this part just traces whatever the edge is that you're pulling the groove out of. And then you're going to use your stitch marker. I'm just going to mark where you're putting your stitches. It's actually called an over-stitching wheel. You're going to drop this in here like this, and it's going to almost make it look like the stitches are already in there. And then that would tell you where your stitch lines, stitch marks need to go. Okay? So that's what we're going to do right now. But we're going to dampen it because it helps the stitch grooving process. Not all of it, just that right there. And we're not going to the bottom side right now because I'm going to show you why in a little bit. All right, now to make sure this line is right, and then I don't go past my welt, I'm going to grab just inside that welt. I don't want my stitches to go too far. And I'm going to drop just a little mark there. Just a little mark to tell me how far I need to go. Okay? Or where I need to start actually. Same thing here. I don't want it to come up too high, but in this case I always leave it about 1 stitch shy from the end. Because I think that's what looks good. See that curly Q coming off of there? I'm going fairly deep with this. If that's not sharp, make sure you get a good curly Q coming off of there. Take my time, make sure that goes straight up and stops right now. When you're done with that, you pull it straight back out so the curly Q stays attached, and you cut it off. You don't tear it off. Tearing it off always leaves some. Just do. Just do. I'm going to chase this really quick back the other way with my manual stitch groover. Okay, so that is now a good stitch groove. And again, if you're just doing one, that's all you'd have, and you would sand this back or cut that back when you were all done. But I'm dropping a second one in there because I'm cray like that. Okay. So same thing. Just got to adjust my stitch groover to make sure I'm at the right line here. That's right. Set it on the edge just so I get good purchase. Match this line up to that line. Okay. Carefully draw it around. Make sure that I'm getting contact with the outside of my sheath, because that's how I'm getting the proper relief all the way around. This is what more like yours would look like if you were doing a single, because you only want 1/8 of an inch on either side. Draw that out, drop it just a little bit shorter because that sheath open bevels. Just pull it straight out, put your tool away, cut it, toss it, manual over stitcher just to go back on it. I just end up with that, yeah, it came right off. Okay, so there's our lines. We are incomplete though, because we have not used our overstitcher. Now, our overstitching wheel is for running over your stitches. Let's assume this is our sheath when we get done. To true that up, you'll be going over these stitches, and it makes it all look nice and neat when you're done. But it's also a stitch marker. So don't put these flipping little spur dudes anywhere where you don't want it. This tool will screw up good work faster than almost any other tool out there. I have jacked up more sheaths at the very, very end, running my stupid overstitcher off the stitches onto the sheath, and that mark is just there forever, and it's one for your family, not for your sewage. Whatever I'm trying to say. So I'm gonna run that around. Again, be careful. You're gonna need some muscle memory on this, so you might want to practice this part, okay? Now, I had one go perfectly and one go a little bit funky in that my stitch groove ran a little bit longer. This is perfect. This is the last hole lined up perfectly. The stitch groove went just a little bit longer than that last mark. So what I end up doing then is I use this little modeling tool. You can use anything to make marks, pen end. And I put that I make sure that stitch line goes in there at the end, but then I'll have a fat stitch if I don't do that, one wider stitch. So I have to cheat this back a little bit and start to blend it in. Come on, there we go. Taking just a little bit off at a time, and the eye can't tell. And there. When we drill those holes, when we make those holes will all blend in and look seamless going all the way around. So now we have the front of our sheath is really starting to look like a sheath a little bit, right? That's the way that's going to look when that's all stitched shut. We don't make our lines here yet, and I'll show you why that is in a minute. We do have to make another set of lines, however, another set of stitches, stitchy groovery thingery. So we want that set just under a little bit of 1/8 of an inch. Because we have to put the stitch groove in to the back, so we have something to sew that to. Perfect. All right, so what we gonna do is, I don't even know why I'm double checking this. I know it's right, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Actually, I know why. Okay, here, put that. Oh yeah, I lost my lines there. Here. Here. Okay, that's where this is going to be. Now I need to make sure that I've got at least 2 inches of belt loop. I got like 3. So what I'll do is I'll use that 3-inch line as my place to stop. I'm going to make a stitch groove come up here and stop here right at the 3-inch mark. Okay. Now I'm going to cheat that a little bit. There's going to be some adjustment there, but this will give me a good idea of where to start. So again, trace this around. Oh, you know what? I'm going to dampen this really quickly. I haven't done that before. Especially on this flesh side, it cuts a little bit harder. Do that real quick. Be careful. Turn the corner down to the tip. Stop. Don't go too far. It looks like a nudie scratch. Back here. Stop about there. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do, first of all, I'm going to make that a little bit deeper. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use my stitch marker and make sure that I'm ending on a stitch, so I don't have to adjust it like I did before. So the first stitch goes here, that runs up, that stops at the right point. I'm going to go one, you know what, probably for looks, I'm going to go an additional whole stitch. This should go up the same and stop at the right point. And do. That goes around that corner, and that should be just about right. Pretty close. All of it can be adjusted. Draw that stitch groove back. I'm going to end up having to put my marks in again, which is just fine because they were a little off. Now, why do we put these stitch grooves in? You want your stitches to lay in this groove so that they don't get rubbed on, especially with this. Okay, first of all, the strength of your leather comes from the flesh side, okay? From the grain side. The grain side, that top like 10% has almost like 70-80% of the strength is in the top part of that leather. This flesh side over here is just filler in a sense. There's another little layer there we won't go into. This out here is pretty much just filler. So you're not removing much by removing this part of the leather. Now, people have made arguments that you shouldn't remove this here because you're removing a little bit of strength. I hear those arguments. I'd rather have my stitches laid down in those grooves, not get worn off, and stay sewed together. Especially when I know I'm putting contact cement and all sorts of stuff there. Alright, so we've got good grooves in there. This is where we're going to use our our washer and draw a little half round. You don't want straight lines in any place that's going to get a lot of pressure, a lot of stuff. So what Chuck Burrows does is he drops a little V in there. I don't care how you do it. I like the little shield look, kind of matches the little sword look idea and the kind of the opening. And so again, this is all just aesthetics, except for you don't want a straight line. Straight lines tend to get or have a problem with what they call zippering. Anytime you have sheath, anytime you have stitches, excuse me, in a straight line, they can tear out in that straight line. So a curve not only wears nicer, but doesn't zipper. For instance, if you were to put a lot of pressure on the opening of this sheath, where it's going to tear is straight down that stitch, okay, because it's in a straight line. You really can't get away with it around the edge here. You just can't. So you have to do it. Plus, there's not a ton of pressure on this outside over here. This pressure is going to be here. That's why we're going to end up double stitching there on both stitches. Okay. Good to go. Now we're going to clean all this up. All right, put that away. Put you away. Stitch marks. Put them back in. Bam. Bam. Perfect. Bam. And must be a little off there. Yeah, let me know what. Let me set those in manually. Make sure it's perfect. Bam. Bam. Okay, I know this one's right. Bam. Put it in there. Straight across. I want all that to match up, or man, I'm telling you, your eye is going to pick that up. It's going to say, it looks like trash, yo. Who'd I pay to make this thing? Jed Clampett. Brother need to give me my money back. First hole there, that one goes there, straight across there. Now, hopefully this will line up going straight across here. Yes, it do. I'll still set them manually so that I know what I'm looking for. Boom. One should be one right in the middle, which it is. Boom. Boom. There's got to be one more there. There. There it is. That's that. So we are ready for dye at this point. Well, we do have to make a dangler, but that's not necessary for right now. So we have this set. We don't make the holes, the little cutouts on the inside there. That'll happen here in just a minute. So we are ready for dye. I did end up sanding that back a little bit, so I will edge this a little bit, but you've seen me do that before, so there's no reason to see me do it again. But I will edge that a little bit, shine that all up, and get ready for dye. I'm going to pause, and we're going to come back here in just a second when we get ready for dye, and do the dye, and then we'll do that. And then we'll drill holes and go from there. So I'll see you in just a minute. All right, we're back. I'm going to show you really quick with the dangler here. Dangler's not a hard thing to make. You can use a strap cutter if you don't need to. Take a ruler, I go about 7/8 of an inch, cut out a strap, do your little end on one end, chamfer the edges there, just so that it's not rough. I'm just quickly knocking the edges out, and we're going to dye both of these here. Let me give you some dimensions here. A 2-inch belt maximum. You want that something like, looks like 8 1/4, something like that. Yeah, the first hole we're going to make is about 5/8 of an inch in, and then this is from the tip, 5/8 of an inch, then 6 1/4, and then 7 3/4 is where we're putting those holes. And we're putting holes in there for Chicago screws so that they can go on a D-ring, and I use a removable D-ring, so you can see it's going to go right through there and flip it around. So let's punch these holes real quick. You can use a drill press if you'd like. It doesn't make as clean of a hole, so you have to clean it up a little bit, and that will make sense when you do it. I'm using a punch. I just go straight through. The little ends up right there. I've already marked these. I have a template for that. You just want to center them. The measurements I told you before. Hit it with a big hammer. Alright, so that's what we've got. Now, in order to set up a dyeing process, I've also done the initial burnishing on this edge and all the way around here. Actually, I haven't quite on that. I'll show you again. Just slicking those up real quick. See that go shiny right away. We're going to do a full burnish when we get done. So we're just kind of, like I said, preliminarily setting this up right now. And that's got a good, smooth, round edge now. Oh, I did some of it. Looks like my ADD kicked in and I didn't get it all done. Okay. Grab my antler here, bone folder, slick that back just a little bit. It's getting nice and shiny. Okay. Now, dye goes everywhere, it just does. So protect your surface with something that you don't mind getting dye on. Alright. First thing we're going to do, however, is to add some alcohol and water solution. I would just use, like 50-50 rubbing alcohol to water in a spray bottle. And we're getting some gloves on first. We're getting our grubby on. These are just like little sandwich making things. I get them from a restaurant around here. You can use rubber gloves. These are just way more disposable. A little bit of water here. And we're just going to not drench it. We're just going to spritz it down. And what we're checking for, doing a couple of things here. One, we're opening the pores in the leather to get it ready to take that dye. Two, we're making sure that everything absorbs evenly. And see how that's all going in? If we had any contact cement in the wrong spot, it would act as a resist. There you go, check that out. Now it's hard to see. See that's resisting right there? There's a little bit of contact cement there. Now it's gone. And now when I spray it again, that will soak in evenly. I don't need to worry too much because I'm not going to dye down in here. Again, no performance added, or I would do it. Okay, so we have that basically dampened. We're going to dampen our dangler as well. Ooh, did that go away? It did. We just want to check to make sure this is all soaking in evenly. If there's any spots on here that have any wax, any residual anything left over from the tanning process or whatever, it will resist unevenly and not look good in the end result. I'm using a slightly different leather, so that's why it shows darker. I'm just showing you how to do a dangler. This project doesn't call for one. But we'll do it anyway. I can always use it down the road. Everything looks good from here on out, man. Anytime this is damp, soft, clean cloth. This is an old towel that I've got. Because even if this is rough, it's going to leave marks on the surface of that leather. And no bueno, you don't want that. Okay, so we are dampened up. Now, in many cases, in most cases, you're going to use a dauber. I buy these daubers locally. The daubers at Tandy are going to be a little bit, oh my God, are going to be a little bit smaller. This is Fiebing's Light Brown, number 201. Wow, I must have put that on there with the hand of Thor last time. Hello. I put it in smaller pots so that I can kind of use it up. This is just an old jelly jar. This is a big old fat wool dauber. You're going to get it plain wet. You don't want it completely drenched. Oh my God. So I'm going to get rid of some of that. Now the trick is here, go in circles, go quick. I like to open it up. I like to do my outside first. Wherever you put it, that's where she gonna be. Go quick, go in circles. Back and forth as quickly as you can. Now even then, it's gonna go on unevenly. If you like that mottled look, well, you got something you're going for. This customer wants all dark brown. So I'm going to put multiple layers of this light brown on here to get dark brown. And notice how I'm flooding the leather. 1, you've opened up the pores again with that spray. 2, we checked to make sure it would take it. 3, I'm just going to keep going back and forth. Not a ton of layers, not a million. Until that's really soaked in well. And essentially, as the leather has started sort of rejecting the dye. Now this is spirit-based dye. There's oil base as well. You can cut that with a little bit of spirits, a little bit of water even. You can even add a little bit of olive oil to your spirit-based dye. I used spirit-based just straight up and down. Nothing added, nothing taken away. The flesh side will dye a little more evenly, so I don't have to worry about that right now. See how that's evening out? And it's flooding as we go here. It's starting to reject. It's going in really slow. At first, especially for you bone dry leather, man, that will go in. That'll just like pool up and sit on you. Now, I don't know if you can see that, but it's darker out here than it is on those edges. Even that initial burnishing, see that? It rejects it a little bit. So you don't want to do a ton of burnishing straight up. Just get it to where it starts to glaze and stop. Because what we don't want is those edges to be really light. They're supposed to be dark. I go in different directions. Once I get the circles, I go straight up and down, and I'm like, there we go. Now we're getting it. Now it's flooding. I think this is gonna be our last layer here on the outside. Maybe one more. Going real even. It's flat out sitting in my maker's mark. That's a good thing. And we've got a good even color. This is not easy, man. It's gonna take you some time to get it right. So definitely take your time. Again, dye gets on every damn thing. So I would wear ugly clothes, do it out in some place where you know you can. Now I'm going to do the inside here. What I don't want to do is get it on my welt too much, near the edge, but not on it. Because I'm going to glue that later. And I want to come down here to where I'm going to put the welt in over here, about a ½ inch in. And I'm going to go down to about there. I don't need, again, to color all the way down there because it doesn't matter. It's completely closed. So that's all further you can really see down there anyway. And again, if it added performance, I would do it. It's just a color. This is just aesthetics. And I end up getting some of my, well, it's not a big deal. I can show you how to do that, but try to keep as much off of there as you can. I was trying to get into this siding here. Not get rid of it, but make sure you get good adhesion later. Alright. You can see how the flesh side kind of, it just kind of takes it a little bit more evenly right away. Good leather takes good dye. You can use water, you can use isopropyl alcohol, like I said. Open those pores up. Bad leather. Bad juju. Hey. Nope. Okay. I thought that was a resist, but I'm going to go one more. Hitting the little light spots that I see. I always tend to miss the stitch line. Don't ask me why. I just do. So I give that a, just because I know it's something I tend to miss. I give that a once over to make sure. Yeah. See how it's standing, pooling right up on top now? Going in slow. This will be a good dye job when it's all done. I don't know if you can hear my fan running in the background. The fan's a good idea. Heated fan would even be better if you can stand it, but I would live in Houston, and even during the winter, it's not really winter. So, I'll put that in the fan here in just a few minutes. And let that percolate. I'm going to let this sit actually overnight, and then I'm going to do my stitches, or my lines there. Everybody has a different way. This is the way I've learned to do it. This is my method. You do it your way. I used to drill the holes first. I don't anymore. I find this to be better. I'm not going to seal this yet. I'm going to wipe it off here in just a second. All right, we got it. We's money. All right, so on a smaller level, get away from there. Circles aren't as important on the strips, I've found. This might come out a slightly different color, and if it does, it's fine, because I can use it for a different project. Again, I just want to show you guys how to do a dangler. In case you wanted to add one of those to your design, it's not really a difficult thing, it's just a strap. Straight ruler, 7/8 inch mark all the way straight down. Draw, I think I said what, 8 1/4. Again, that's if you have a 2-inch belt. Make the dangler fit your belt, fit your style, fit your speed, whatever you're doing. A couple more layers here. Yeah, this is turning out more of a russet, isn't it? That's different, and that's fine. For this project, this dangler will not go on that. So I'll show you how to put it on there, but I won't send it to the customer like that, of course. This was oak and this was russet when I ordered it from factory. So from Wicket and Craig. Call Glenn there. Glenn's been really good to me there. Alright, that's good. That's pooling now. See how your hands get nasty? It's just like you got wiping issues, like you broke through the paper when you were wiping if you don't wear gloves. Man, and I'm still going to end up getting some on me, I guarantee it. Double check my job here. Looks good to me. Hit that edge one more time. Probably just go over the whole thing. Double up on that edge. Just give me a nice dark brown. Just like the customer ordered. I'm trying to remember who ordered this one. This actually might be going to the Swiss Alps. In fact, I think it is. Got quite a few overseas now. Thanks so much to all my customers out there who take care of me, and I try to take care of them. One more double up here. That's it, man. That's your dye for this. I'm gonna probably put a couple more coats onto here. Actually, let's kind of turn the same color. Anyway, that's kind of it for this. We're gonna let this completely dry overnight. I'll come back. I'll show you how to punch the holes, glue it up, stitch, and finish it. Oh, before I go, grab a cloth. I don't have one, so I'll tell you about it. Grab a cloth and wipe this down. Actually, let me grab this. It's usually what I use for edging, but this is going to be a good illustration. This dye is in suspension, which means it is suspended in the mineral, the spirits, and it's a powder, essentially. So that will come back off some. See that? You need to wipe this off right away, immediately after dyeing, so that, again, good, clean, nice cloth, so you're not leaving marks everywhere you go. See how that little bit of excess comes off there? Go over the whole thing and get your excess off, and then set it aside to dry, okay? Or else that's going to tend to come off on your pants, and that is no good, so you don't want that. Wipe it down, be careful. Some people use a paper towel, I tend to just use a clean cloth. Wipe this down, see, there you go. Now it's really coming off that. Wipe that all off, get it all clean. I'll do that off camera, and we'll come back with this all cleaned up for tomorrow. Make sure you're not touching anything, and I will see y'all later. Peace.